Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's finally looking a bit like summer here in the northeast of England because it's been constantly raining for the whole beginning of July. But this week we are finally getting some sun. Yay! I was totally ready to just throw the towel in with summer and just admit defeat that we weren't getting one. But hopefully we are on to better weather. So, what I want to talk about today is health anxiety. So basically, I've suffered with this before. I've found that when I've spoken to people about it, it has helped them. And I think when I had it, I thought I was the only person in the world that suffered with it. I didn't even realise that it was an actual thing. I just thought that it was just me and what was wrong with this, and actually when I went to see someone I realised how many people actually suffer with it. So what we'll do is start from the very beginning, and then I'll just let you know about my experience and what helped me, and then anyone who suffers with it, if you've got any questions, then obviously feel free to put them in comments below and ask me. Because it is a horrible thing to deal with. It can be really debilitating. It can just stop you from wanting to do anything or even leave the house. So I do know how bad it is, so I would definitely like to help anybody that has it. So yeah, just ask me any questions and hopefully I'll be able to help. So basically, mine all began because I lost my mum when I was 20. She had breast cancer, and she'd had it for a little while, but although I kind of dealt with her death like in my own way, and I thought I was like fine for years, it wasn't until like 5 years later that this health anxiety crept back up on us. My mum was only 42 at the time, so that's really, really young. And I think to lose someone, like when they're young and you're young, like it hits you really hard and you just can't get your head around how someone can just be taken like that. So I think it kind of just, without me like realising it, like subconsciously, that's why the health anxiety kicked in. So for anyone that's never suffered with it, health anxiety basically is when if you get a pain, an ache, some sort of, like little heart flutter, you will think that you're dying. And although that sounds really extreme, when you suffer with health anxiety, that is the reality. Nobody can tell you any different. Like, it is a one-way street to thinking that I'm gonna die and this is it. And no matter how much someone will say to you, you're fine, just calm down, nothing's gonna happen, like, you just can't take that in. So when I first started suffering with it, it basically started with like a panic attack. I was at a friend's house, and I think my brain like to cling on to really serious stories. So I'm a sucker for reading the Daily Mail, which I know that I shouldn't because they have the worst stories on there ever. Things that will happen to someone, 1 in a million. You read it and you just think that that's going to happen to you. So I would read that a lot, and then really like severe cases of things, my brain must have just stored onto that. So when the health anxiety came out, I'd heard of a friend basically having a fit the next day after having a hangover. So my first ever started was, I was hungover, I woke up with the friends, we were just chatting about the night, having a laugh like you do with your girlfriends. And basically it was a really sunny day, and she had long blinds and the sun like kept coming in through the blinds. But to me, I thought that was just something that my eyes was creating. I never thought that it was like the sun. So my battery died on my camera in the middle of that, so I've just recharged it. So yeah, anyway, to me it wasn't like light coming through the blinds. Like, to me that was my eyes like having some sort of like seizure or fit. I couldn't really tell what was going on. I just convinced myself that that's what was happening. So I told my friend that I didn't feel very well, and I went upstairs to bed, and I have had panic attacks before in the past where I can't breathe, but I'd say like from 2 years ago the panic attacks were more like an uncontrollable shaking where you can't calm yourself down. So in health anxiety, when I've convinced myself that I'm gonna have a fit, obviously my body starts shaking and I just link the two, and I'm just totally convinced that because I'm shaking because I'm having a fit, basically. I was just totally freaked out. I was really upset. I didn't know what the hell was happening. So I told my friend to ring 111. I didn't really want to get an ambulance because I knew that I was conscious, but I definitely wanted to go to hospital. So they told me to go in. We got straight in a taxi, went to the hospital, which was like 5 minutes away from my house. And even when I was in there, I couldn't calm down. My body was just shaking. I was breathing really heavily. And when I explained it to the woman on reception, I just said, you know, I saw flashing lights. I can't catch my breath. I'm shaking. I don't really know what's happening. She will have known that it was a panic attack. But to me, you know, something was happening to my body and I didn't really know what it was. So anyway, I sat in the waiting room for a while, still couldn't calm down. I was still shaking really uncontrollably. So they took us in a room and wired us up to the ECG machine and measured my heart rate. And we were in there for a while. Anyway, everything came back fine. And the doctor took some bloods and everything came back fine, and then just told us to go home. So it was a little bit of a peace of mind, because I kind of thought, oh well, the doctor says that I'm fine, so that I can go home. But I think in that moment, I honestly never realised that that was a panic attack and a form of like my anxiety. I'd honestly convinced myself that just something had happened, and that was the way that my body was reacting, and it was because I was poorly, which obviously wasn't the case. So following on the weeks from that, I seemed to suffer really badly with these types of panic attacks where I would shake and couldn't like catch my breath. If I got a shooting pain in my arm, I instantly thought I was having a stroke or a heart attack. If I got a pain in my head, it was a brain tumour, or I was going to have a brain hemorrhage. I used to freak out a lot about having fits and having seizures and falling on the floor, and like hitting my head. And my boyfriend didn't really understand it at the time, because I think if you've never dealt with it, it is really hard to understand. But when you are in that moment, you are having a heart attack, and that is it. No one can tell you any different. And it carried on for quite a while, and it was really, really bad. I found it really hard to live with. I was crying all the time. When I was at work, I had to go and like hide in the disabled toilet because I was having panic attacks. I remember once being at work and I'd slurred my speech to a customer, which since I've found out is a form of anxiety. But at the time, because I'd slurred my speech, in that moment I'd convinced myself that I was having a stroke. So that then set on a panic attack. So I had to go and sit in the disabled toilet, and I sat and cried, and I was shaking, and I had to control my breathing, and then like just go back into work once I'd kind of like calmed back down. But it's awful. It's absolutely horrible to live with. I remember even going away to like Leeds with friends, and you know, when you're having a drink, for me, drink never affected us when I was getting drunk, because it kind of just numbed everything. But when it's the next day, and everyone kind of gets the fear when you've had a drink, everyone gets a little bit anxiety. But when you've got health anxiety and you've had a drink, the next day, like, you just think you've done the worst thing ever. Like, you think, oh my God, I've drank so much, I'm gonna die because I've drank so much, I've damaged my heart because I had shots last night, you know, like, I shouldn't have drank that vodka lemonade, like, you just, everything goes through your head about the night before, and you just suddenly like convince yourself that, you know, you're gonna die because you went out and drank last night, which obviously isn't the case. Drinking is legal, obviously in moderation, it's fine. But yeah, the health anxiety the next day after having a drink is like really, really bad. So I remember coming back from Leeds and everyone's talking on the train, having a laugh, and inside myself, I can't settle myself down. I'm on edge. I'm thinking, I'm having a heart attack. What if I did have a heart attack? I'm on a train in the middle of nowhere. There's no hospitals near us. I would die. So then you just relaying that to yourself in your head again and again and again and again, and all you're doing is like working yourself up, when in actual fact there's hospitals all over the country. If anything happened, chances are there probably would be some sort of doctor or nurse on the train who's travelling back from somewhere. But you can't let yourself think, oh, I'm going to have a heart attack and I'm going to be saved. You just think, I'm going to have a heart attack and I'm going to die. And yeah, you're constantly sweating because you can't calm down. Like everything's going through your head. You want to cry, but when you're in people's company, sometimes, you know, like you don't want to cry, so then it makes it even worse because you're building everything up inside of you, and it's not a nice place to be, like, at all. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And yeah, after that I got home, and it continued for a few weeks again. You know, tiniest little things, I would convince myself that was it, like, you know, something bad was going to happen, until one night, by this point I'd been to A&E with panic attacks about 4 times. So this one night I'd convinced myself that, yeah, again, I was having a heart attack. I used to get like little heart flutters, which I've found out is absolutely normal, but when my heart used to go boom, 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 that just used to send me off on one. What happened at the time was there was an advert on the telly and it was on Channel 4, and it was a documentary about rich kids and entrepreneurs, and one of the guys, like, little VTs said, yeah, like, I'm 27, I'm a CEO, and I put myself under so much pressure, I had a heart attack last year. So I'm going to bed, I've just listened to that on the TV, and then my heart goes boom, 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 boom. Right, okay, I'm gonna have a heart attack, this is what's happening. And I just started shaking. Like, I got up, I tried to run myself a bath to calm myself down. And like, my boyfriend was like, are you okay? And I was like, no. Like, I just burst out crying, and I just was like, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, I can't live like this. It's ruining my life. Like, this is every day. I'm sweating, I'm shaking, I'm worrying about something. I feel like I can't even really like go out the house or just fully relax and like enjoy myself. So I went to A&E for like the 5th time with like a panic attack, and again, they put me on my ECG machine, and heart was fine, everything was okay. And the doctor, like, at the time was like, I think you need to go and see your GP. Like, if this is happening a lot, she said, I know, like, anxiety and panic attacks are horrible. But she said, you do need to go and see someone about it and seek help. So the very next day, I phoned in sick at work, and I got an emergency appointment at the doctor's. The doctor was really lovely, and he offered to give us tablets, like some sort of like antidepressants, and he gave me a number for the Mind charity. So there's one really local to me. And at the time I was really reluctant to like even take the prescription for the tablets, but because I like just felt like my life was being ruined, I took the prescription, went and bought them, and like took them home. But you're in a catch-22 when you've got health anxiety, because I was never ever ill. Even though I thought I was going to die, I was never ever ill. So the first thing you do when you get some tablets is you read the side effects. So I sat and read the side effects. Everything was horrendous. It could cause blood clots and whatever else. So I didn't take them. And my boyfriend said, you know, take them, like, even if it's just for a short space of time, if it's going to help you. And I just said no, like, I know it's all in my head. Like, a tablet isn't going to fix it. A tablet is just going to, like, mask the situation. And unless I see someone about what my brain's thinking, then I'm never ever going to be better. And I'm not saying that tablets aren't the way forward for some people, but definitely for me, I just felt that I couldn't get stuck on taking tablets forever when I knew it was all in my head and my thought process. Yeah, so basically I rang the Mind charity and I got an appointment for the following week. And the woman who I saw was absolutely amazing. Like, she was like, okay, so tell me what's wrong. And I was like, oh, I just constantly think that I'm dying, and it, you know, it gives us panic attacks. It gives us really bad anxiety. Like, I just can't settle, like, on a day-to-day basis with, like, it's constant thoughts. And she was like, oh, so you've got health anxiety. And I was like, whoa, like, is that actually, like, a real thing? Like, I didn't even know, like, that existed. And she was like, yeah, like, it's my favourite thing to deal with. She was like, 20% of the population suffer with it. And I mean, you can kind of understand why, where everything on the news is all doom and gloom, and, like, especially for the likes of me who read the Daily Mail a lot, like, you can read something and your brain must really just take that in, and it kind of just sets you off. So that really opened my eyes. But I went for about 10 weeks and saw her every Friday. And it was absolutely amazing. Like, it was the best thing that, like, I ever did. So, like, I suppose the point of this video is just to, like, raise awareness of, like, health anxiety. And anyone who's suffering with it, or even just has, like, a tiny little bout and, like, start of it, like, go and see someone. Like, I was never ever afraid to go to, like, see someone, like, at the Mind charity, because I knew I wasn't mentally, like, insane. Like, I knew there wasn't anything wrong with it, but I knew that I needed to go if I wanted to get better. And I probably lived with health anxiety for about a year. And then all it took was 10 weeks of going to see this woman and telling her how I felt, and her just really, you know, saying, well, actually, it's very unlikely that that would happen to you. And, you know, if you think like this, think that way. And, like, she just really opened up, like, my eyes and just helped my mind think a completely different way to the one it was thinking. And yeah, after 10 weeks, she was like, you know, like, I think that you're much better. I don't really think, you know, you haven't had a panic attack in a few weeks now. Like, I think you'll be fine. It's not saying that it won't ever come back. But obviously she's gave us ways to deal with it if it ever did. And she just let me know that if it did ever come back, then I can always go back and talk to them again. So that's nice to know that, you know, I was helped once, and if it did ever creep back up, then, like, there are amazing people out there that can really, really help you get over it. I haven't had health anxiety now for about 2 years, or just under 2 years. And when I look at my life now compared to how I was living when I had it, it's, like, so much different. Like, I can just go about, like, me every day without having any sort of, like, panic. Like, if I get a pain in my arm, it is just a pain in my arm. If I get a pain in my head, it's just a headache. Like, I've learned that there's no need to worry unless there's something to really start worrying about. And my life is just completely different. And obviously I have to thank Sarah, the Mind charity, like, for just helping us really get over, like, that episode. And I've just been to London for a bloggers event on my own. I would never have been able to do that if I had health anxiety, especially travelling on the tube, on the train, walking around London on my own. Like, I even went for a rooftop cocktail on my own. Like, that would just never have happened. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have confined myself to my hotel room. I would have been too scared to get on the tube, and I would have probably just panicked my little self in the room. And yeah, I just wouldn't have been able to do it, whereas now I can do those things. So yeah, definitely go and speak to someone if you can. I know in some areas the waiting lists are long, but honestly it is worth waiting it out. In that time, you know, there's loads of apps for meditation, like on the iPhone, which are amazing. And try and do like fitness, like exercise, like really helps to just take your mind off things. Also, confide in friends, like don't feel stupid about it. Like, your friends are there to help you, like they are the ones that, you know, get you through everything like in your life. Open up to them, and that's what they're there for, to help you. And once they understand it, you know, that they will really help you. I've came across a girl before who had it, and she found that her family wasn't like really supportive. They just used to tell her, you know, to shut up and stop being silly, which it isn't ideal. But if you haven't got those types of people to talk to, that's why it is really, really important to go and seek help and go and speak to someone professional. Because like I say, it'll just help you so much. And if those people around you aren't really understanding it, at least you can just let everything out to someone who it's going to be confidential to, and they're just going to really help you think in a completely different way. A lot of people were shocked that I had it, because I am quite a confident person. Like, in some ways I'm really chatty. I'll chat to anyone and like go anywhere and like do anything, but it can hit everyone. And like, you know, it's not just health anxiety, there's loads of other forms of anxiety out there, but obviously this is the only real one that I've dealt with. But yeah, so I hope this video has helped. Like I say, it's just raising a bit of awareness, because until I found out that it was a form of anxiety, I thought I was the only one. So even if this has just helped one person, and you're like, oh my god, I have that as well, you know, then I'm glad that I've done it, because I would like to help people, because there's nothing worse than being in that state of mind and not being able to go about your everyday life. So yeah, just if you want to ask any questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you've liked this and you like my channel. The other videos that I'll be doing over time, again, will just be lifestyle, real life talks and fashion. So yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this one, and if it's even just helped one person to go and seek help and get over the whole thing, then I'm really glad that I've done it. Thank you for watching. Bye.